Hey everyone. So from a series of shorts I did on first communication and trying to navigate meeting people on dating sites in particular, um, I've noticed there's been a swing lately of slightly more females in the audience. So keeping that in mind, my experience, you will have to understand, is with females on dating sites. So let's just assume that attachment style is attachment style regardless of gender. So if they're dismissive, they're dismissive. They might have a slightly different way of being dismissive, but it will all lead to the same thing. And it could be females watching to understand the male psyche and why we do things or how we respond to things more likely. So it's was sparked the idea, the spark for the video came from a rather aggressive and abusive interaction I had with someone. Now they contacted me and I was inundated with seriously like 18 messages at a time. And there was like 80 messages overall from first contact. It just didn't stop. So this person poured out their entire life story. It was full of terminations of pregnancy, using IVF to have a child, and they had a child quite late in life, actually. They said they're 60 with a 13-year-old. And this is in Russia, and that's quite different for over there because they consider 26 years of age as old, as you can start to have problems after 26 and giving birth. And why haven't you had a child by 26? Okay. So this channel is predominantly around Slavic people. So there could be women out there interested in a Russian man or Slavic man, maybe, or there's one in the family. It's whatever people get out of this is what they get out of it. There's no deep hidden agendas of it's about attachment style. So and trying to learn how to respond, or more likely learn what attachment style is and why people do what they do. And a lot of what they do is not a conscious decision. A lot of people don't deliberately sit there and go, I am going to go online and be abusive and aggressive and short tempered. They probably go online with an innocent attempt at making communication to another human being, and it just goes wrong. And their response may not be well thought out, and it could be completely reactionary, which is your warning sign to run, right? I mean, if you're seeking a partner and you're abused, run. It won't get better. And you've seen, sorry, you've seen the inherent personality flaws that they've got. So I'm going to run roughly off a script, but like nearly all of my videos, they're completely improvised, taken from personal experience, or possibly life experience of other people asking questions. So the drive to do the video is the myriad of complexities of the different communication styles, of cultures, of genders, of people in their native habitat, their social structures, their social economic backgrounds, their roles in society, all have a huge part in what shaped them as people. And there's particularly trauma responses go on a lot, a lot. And when you are dealing with divorced people, widowed people, just people who are broken up, there's trauma involved, and how well they have worked on themselves and managed their recovery in that area. It's just going to inherently drive their interaction and communication with you. So we'll move on. So I'm just roughly running to a script here, which isn't. It's just not going to run that well, all right? Because I'm just going to have to expand on a lot of stuff. So first contact. So a lot of people on dating pools are very experienced. They've been on them for years. They've met some people. They've gone away from the site. It could have run very well for them for 4 or 5 more years, and they might reappear in 10 years, and it could be a breakup for many reasons. It could have naturally, organically ended. There could be trauma involved. A partner could have died. It's like the reason people come back, you can't necessarily cite them as either difficult people or people with, say, dismissive personalities who connect with someone and basically walk away very quickly, very quickly. They are dismissive. The fearful avoidance will come at you with a reaching out, a warm, cordial connection, a genuine desire to meet up, intimacy, maybe introduction to family, a long-term vision of being together. And then when the deactivation kicks in, they can, what we can now call ghosting, where they just can't take it. They go into overwhelm. Reactionary trauma kicks in, that if they're trying to date again after, say, losing a partner to a disease or a health reason took them, they can be particularly reactive to health. So that's something I wanted to talk about, was how much you disclose on first contact of, like, somewhere down the line, a conversation gets had where you can go, I get very bad migraines and need to have a sleep in the afternoon in a dark room. I broke my arm and I can only bend it this far. We all have some health concerns somewhere tucked away. It can be sciatica, TMG, jaw issues, deafness, eyesight, heart issues, pelvic floor issues. We are all human beings inside human bodies, which are subject to breaking down in older age. So the older age bracket, which clearly I'm in, a lot of this comes up. And with women, the men have to navigate the fact that women will go into menopause in their, late 40s, 50s. It's going to happen. You can't escape it. And then the men have to work it out for themselves. Am I going to navigate this well? The women themselves can navigate it quite well with supplements, with women's help groups, whatever they need. That going into it, they might read up on it and start taking some supplement that's going to actually calm them down. A lot will have sleepless nights. Some menopausal women have told me at work that they have been there screaming at their husband and thinking in their head, why am I doing this? It's like I wouldn't go as far to say it's almost like they're another person, but some of them have described it that that's how it is. They might apologize later and says, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that. So, in that age bracket, which some of you will be in, this is actually really something to take into consideration. You know, I make some jokes, and I'm sure some people will find it hugely offensive. However, I have sort of summed up dating in your 50s as a male is like navigating a minefield. And there's a lot of women will quite easily um, identify with that. They'll go, yeah. It's like they don't want to be like it. They're not consciously, um, attacking you and being and having fits of anger at you. They don't want it any more than what the partners want it. Um, and this is where a bit of compassion and a bit of understanding goes a long, long way. I mean, statistically, I've read up on this, and there is a huge spike in divorce when the woman hits menopause. So we're on the opposite end of that spectrum of wanting to date these women that some men are leaving because of the menopause. So health issues in your first contact, do you disclose that early? Probably not. Probably not. Because your attitudes change after you've been talking for a while and you connect emotionally and you start to have feelings for someone. What you could quite easily brush off on the first chat, if someone goes, "Oh, I've got irritable bowel syndrome," for example, I can only eat certain foods. So a big foodie could be, "Oh, well, this is going to be drag because I just love going to every restaurant in town." I could go, "Sorry, it won't work." But say after 3 weeks, there's a connection and there's some affection, that mightn't be an issue. The other person would be like, "Well, we know what you need to eat. We can still go to any restaurant and we'll, order up what's gonna be suitable for you." Things like that. This might seem glaringly obvious, but I think in the dating scheme of things, because we're letting heart rule our head, there can be very big kickbacks and an awful lot of regret where you're just going, why did I keep going? Why didn't I stop? And some of it, if you're anxious attachment or you're lonely, you'll gloss over a lot of this stuff and go, don't worry about that. Don't worry, you've got herpes. Don't worry that, you know, you smoke a lot and you've been told to stop. Some people will just go, "I don't care. I've got someone I can talk to and they make me feel good." Okay. So that's your decision, what you do. Whether you can go in a relationship and say you're not a smoker and they're a smoker. That's the deal breaker for a lot of people. It's just bang. I've actually gone and seen someone, and on their profile they said not a smoker, not a drinker, and they were literally an alcoholic and smoked continually. Okay. And so keep this in mind when you do your searching and you're ticking boxes of, like, say, social drinker instead of often drinker, and you tick no smoking. Keep in mind that people on those dating sites are well aware they are being screened. They are well aware that they are going to miss out on a sizable chunk of people seeing their profile. So not all of them, but some will blatantly lie. They will blatantly tick, "Don't smoke, don't drink," because I know more people will look at their profile. Keep this in mind because it's burnt me hard. It's like I literally went to another country and was in the car and this person's puffing cigarettes out through the window stopped at a shop, got alcohol, and they were Russian, and they were like, "You calling me a Russian alcoholic?" I mean, and that's the cultural thing. You've got culture to deal with. What's considered heavy drinking in one country, for you, just could be everyday drinking. Um, and some of them will justify things like if it's beer, I'm not an alcoholic. If it's vodka and you drink that, you're an alcoholic. They will try to justify things in different ways. They go, "Oh, I only smoke a little bit," and they go through 3 packets. It's all about perception. And a lot of this might be very well hidden. I've been on different diets. I've gone in and out of being vegan, vegetarian, eating meat, all of it. And in phases where I've been vegan, I've had a partner blatantly lie to me, blatantly say, not eating meat around me and saying they don't eat meat. And then their son said, "Oh, mum actually runs off and, gets some whatever, hot dogs or whatever. And that's on their side, for whatever reason, I wanted to be in a relationship and I don't know. So first contact. So what would you talk about? On a profile, you've got things like smoking, drinking, children, whether they live at home, whether, some sites will have your income, some will have if you own a house, some will have if you have a car. We'd love to think that what we read on the profile has some truth or is mostly true. Unfortunately, we'll learn even from photos, photos years younger than what they are. There's all of that, the whole catfishing experience. So the video is like what, some concepts of what do you talk about, what don't you talk about, and also picking. So it's also going to be about some of their defense mechanisms, and some of my experiences. Okay. The only way I can sort of do this channel is talk about experiences. And I'm doing the channel because I have had so many people, I mean, a lot of people say, "You need to go write a book." I'll just tell them something and they go, "You need to go write a book." Okay. So I'm doing the channel instead. Whoever one person watches it, it's like if someone wants to book, I can go look at the channel. So what have we got? So you can talk about pets. That's a big one. Pets. Some women will use that quote from the famous person. I don't know if it was Gandhi or someone basically said that you can judge the character of a man by the way he treats animals. And a lot of women take that on board big time, big time. I've been fortunate enough to have gone to different countries. I've had people go, "You know what? My cat hates men, but it likes you." I was in Russia, went to someone's house, and they said, "Our cat hates strangers, but it's letting you pat it." I've just had this happen, okay? And that can be a determining factor. If some potential partner goes to the house of the other potential partner and there's an animal involved, its reaction to that person could well just be a make or break. The person or the pet owner, they could just go, "Well, there's something not right about you." It's a consideration to have, shall we say. And you'll knock that on the head pretty quick. If you just come out and go, "Hate animals, I don't live in a zoo," you got an animal lover, you will be sort of going, "Okay, nice meeting you, see you later." It'll be just done. You're done on that first chat. And a lot of that, in all honesty, it's the safest way to go. you might go, oh, damn it, if it wasn't just for that one thing, that would have been perfect. And you know what? That is such a common thing. I've said if it wasn't for their attachment style, they would have been perfect. They were like fearful avoidant, where they shut down after the closeness. There's an awful lot of irony in that, to be honest, because you could be quite suitable, but there's just you don't click. You could be both secure, but you'll work it out through good, healthy communication that, well, I like going to museums and art, and you love sport and water sports. It's like you could just go, you know what? I really just want to go to a museum with my partner, and you'd rather be on a jet ski. I can't see this working, you know? Some people make that stuff work really, really well, where if they're like slightly dismissive avoidant and they don't need that closeness, that can work. Um, it's something to think about. I think it's good to have deal breakers. I think it's just sit down and go, all right, I'm ready to jump in the dating pool. I'm ready to, I think I've grieved my partner's passing long enough, and I enjoy being in a relationship. And some people have a fear of growing old alone. You know, it's not a particularly great reason to get a partner. That's something you need to manage yourself. But if you are just someone who goes, I'm happy or I'm content, but I would really like someone to talk to, I would like a companion. You might want someone you can be intimate with. There's a lot drives that desire as well. You might want someone to cuddle up to in bed because it helps regulate your anxiety. Um, we all have different reasons. Dare I say it's some reasons are financial. You know, some go, oh, no, I just don't have enough to buy a house and I don't want to rent forever. And maybe you'll meet someone and you jointly go into buying a house. It's huge. So some aspects that to look out for, like as much as the sayings of the red flags, you know, that's a flag, you know, it's like, it's almost a little bit cliche these days. It's, why didn't you see the flags, you know? And it doesn't help, you know. If you got friends going through a tough time, don't make it tougher. To just support them, because you might need support at some point, and you won't need to be berated by some bad choices. And we all make bad choices. We all make bad choices. So let's look at now this is first contact is okay. So you can meet someone who might be very adamant about having a video call. I've had someone make an impromptu video call to me, and I took it as a healthy sign that I wanted to make sure it was real. And that relation took off from that. There was daily contact, blah, blah, blah. And cards sent through the mail, video calls. And that suited me, having a anxious attachment style. I'd get a good morning thing, have a nice day, and it would change my day. I go, someone somewhere cares. That's it just would calm my anxiety. I've got, you know, we're planning a trip to meet each other. Lots of world events are stopping it. Things are very difficult now if you're doing international dating. You know, there can be sanctions on countries, alignments with people. You know, I'm not going to get political, but we know what's going on in the world at the moment, and that can hugely impact if the country you're going to go to is on a do not travel list of the country you're in. there's all these considerations, right? Generally, there's the cliches of love will conquer all, Um, and this is something it, a lot of my videos are around fearful avoidant, right? Because it's not talked about enough. That there's people don't know what it is. I didn't know what it was until, maybe 6 months ago. Well, I didn't know enough to have a conversation about it. I knew what secure was and fearful, um, not fearful avoidance, sorry, anxious attachment. I didn't know a lot about dismissive. I didn't know a lot about the avoidance. So that's why I've done deep dives and spent considerable time educating myself on them and working out in the past who was what. I can go back and go, that person used to do that. And I go, bang, I'd put them in the box. And now when I talk online, whether it's just in a shopping center or, on a dating site, when I'm on them, I'm feeling confident I can pick it. I can go, bang, they're dismissive. So how would you work that out? It's about engagement. It's about responses. It's about interest, but it's the communication style. So secures will engage quite well. So if one goes, I like fishing, the other one with a healthy communication style will tag onto that and go, oh, okay, I like fishing too. Or where do you go fishing? What fish do you like to eat? And it'll become a conversation. And hopefully when the person said, I like to fish at blah island and I like to eat whiting, they would go, tell me about you. What do you like to do? And it would be reciprocal. It wouldn't just stay on one person, okay? Now, an anxious attachment could probably stay focused on the other person. They could be like, I want to know all about them. They're so interesting. I think I'm falling in love with this person after the first 3 seconds, and I want to appear interested. Okay. So that can happen. Sometimes the anxious attachments can level out and have almost an equal conversation. It might be a little bit different. Particularly if you've got anxious and fearful avoidant, then it mirrors. They both mirror each other in the anxious side of it until the fearful avoidant goes into the avoidant. So, and I said in one of my shorts, there's this one, the dismissive avoidant will literally do what the name says. So if you go, I like fishing, they will not tag onto it. And this is what you need to look for, okay? This is what you need to look for. It's really obvious when you watch a chat online, you see it. You see that you go, I really enjoy going to the theatre. And then the next thing is like they say, I'm going on a trip to India next week. And they do not have an interest in you. And they might ask you a question, but is it a question from them wanting to know you, or is it them wanting to know what you can do for them? And generally the questions will be around things like security. I know today a lot of conversations are around, do you own a house? Do you rent? What sort of car do you drive? Very materialistic things, right? But if you are after love, if you are after intimacy and if you're after a companion, generally speaking, your conversation won't go there because it's very materialistic. And I know that people today go, I have a right to know that my type of lifestyle won't degrade if I hook up with blah. Granted, you can have that viewpoint, but trust me, it's not received well. And it's not pleasant, and it feels like a job interview, and it feels like you are assessing them for what they can do for you. I know, in some countries that's standard fare. You can go on a date and it's just bang. What's your job title? What's your income? Who do you work for? Do you own a house? What sort of car do you drive? Um, and they have an interest in that. They don't want to know who your favorite band is. They don't want to know who your favorite food, what your favorite food is, who your favorite actor is, what movies you like, what you like to do on the weekend. It's run, run. If that's their leading lines, if you meet up and it's about finances, run. Because they're not interested in you, not interested in you at all. They're interested in what you can do for them. That there's, I think, unfair criticism of women of being gold diggers. I now meet a lot of independent women who have built a life for themselves after a divorce, and their biggest fear is some guy taking what they've got. The roles are reversed now because we're living in hopefully a more equal world. Okay. But then if you've got a woman who's worried that you're going to take her stuff, then you want to think about, do you want to be with someone that thinks like that? Or do you want to be with someone who wants to cuddle up on a couch on a Sunday with popcorn and watch a movie and be intimate? That's what your needs are. So there's I'm just trying to define some more the dot points to reference, because I was trying to work out what the trigger was for the aggressive attack that I had, and trying to work out what the actual attachment style was, because I found it hard to pick, actually. So that was more trauma manifested. So okay, so yeah, so this Russian woman was going, "How is Russia?" And I said, oh, sometimes you get interviewed at the airport by immigration. It's not an unusual thing. A lot of that happens. A lot happens in Australia. It's nothing to be offended about. It's just people doing their job. This person was like, "Oh, I've got a direct line to the president. I'll sort this out for you." And they wanted to be my hero, right? But as the conversation went on and I discussed my experiences with different women, it then turned into an attack. I was viciously attacked, insulted, endlessly, accused of not having table manners, and I've never sat down at a table with this person. But I'll be honest, I actually think they were certifiable. They had delusions of grandeur, that they had a direct line to the president of their country. They were going to go on TV and demand apologies. Really, really scary, delusional stuff. I mean, I've seen a lot of this stuff from my work, and we just know what's out there. We know we're educated on mental health from the whole, dare I say it, COVID thing, where mental health awareness and depression became everyday talk, you know. And now employers have employment assistance programs where if you're going through a breakup, or you've been told you got, say, a serious illness, you can get some help. So I'm watching this conversation unfold where this woman just it's like 80 messages, like unasked for. I might have just said hi, and I was just given an entire life story. And this person even said, I'm not a woman, I'm a horse, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And then I just said, it's interesting you say that because my experience is this. And then I was attacked. Okay. So what are they in attachment style? It was almost more trauma run. She had a lot of difficulties with men who she says cheated on her or left her. But I'll hazard a guess that she's dismissive. She she didn't care. It's very easy to be very critical after the fact, but considering someone's gone from "I'll be your hero" to "you're a misogynist pig," I mean, look at why was there that urgent need to help me? What's going on there? And that some of that can be it can manifest in a dismissive avoidant. How does it manifest and why? I will be honest, I have tried very hard to understand why a dismissive even bothers going on a dating site. Okay. I've answered it in some other videos, and some of it is to meet a social criteria. There could be pressure from family. It might help them in their job, and it'll tick a box. Particularly, so with one Slavic person, there was an engagement, and then it was worked out they were incompatible. This woman had trauma around intimacy, and this is something the men listening might have to come to grips with. You will encounter women who have been sexually assaulted by their husbands, okay? We need to acknowledge the reality of this and the reality of the repercussions on these women, where they might want to be in a relationship, and when it comes to intimacy and being in the bedroom, they can trigger. And we need to learn to understand that a lot of what goes on in relationships is not personal. It's not personal. It's not just because you are that one person in the room with them. It's not a deliberate invalidation of you and your personality. It is trauma-based, and it's run on a traumatic experience from someone in their past. Now, this is something that came up. I don't know how many people go through this. I have watched friends go through it. There's also a thing called the 7-year itch, but I have noticed I've not been able to really back it up, but I've noticed around 3 months into a relationship, sometimes there's a make or break. I've encountered it where way back in the day when I had like friends say in their 20s or something, and they were couples for years, there might be 3 or 4 breaking up one after the other. And some could go, it's Mercury in retrograde, or it could be, the stars. It could be lots of things. But some of it can be triggers. It can be the honeymoon period's over after 2 years. That's in the love languages book. There's a lot of that where there's a lot of dopamine hits, oxytocin, somatic co-regulation of couples, that they actually just feel safe, they feel calm around each other. Now, let's say in that case, nothing bad has happened, but let's go back to what I was talking. I went a little bit off on a tangent there. So back to men dealing with that stuff. I mean, there was an episode of Sex and the City. Now, I hated that show. Sorry to offend anyone, but I just didn't find it interesting. But someone told me that their partner watched it, and there's an episode where this guy would finish the act of intimacy with one of the stars in the show and run off to the shower, and it had to have a shower. On screen, the woman's lying there going, okay. And this kept happening. So the woman then confronted the guy and said, what is it? Why do you run off after we finish and have a shower? And he goes, my mother or auntie said I needed to wash the sin away. Now, I had a story where someone was literally OCD, right? So everything had to be in its place, but they actually left the kitchen like a hurricane had gone through it. But if you read up on obsessive compulsive behavior, you can almost confuse it with some cultures who are very house proud, and you leave your shoes at the door, and everything's cleaned, floors are mopped twice a day, everything has its place. It's easy if you're not from that culture to go, these people are OCD, they got upset. I left a piece of paper on the dining room table. I was like the end of the world. And that's something in cross-cultural relationships you have to get used to as well. Some countries, particularly the Slavic women, are extremely house-proud people. Like their houses look like photos out of house garden. Everything is immaculate. There's not like a bit of dust anywhere, but everything has its place. And if you move something out of place, you'll know about it. So that might be something. I don't know. Would it be a deal breaker? It shouldn't be a deal breaker. Everyone should be comfortable in a organized house, as long as it doesn't come into massive arguments. Men can be, let's face it, men can be pigs, and we can leave underwear on the floor and socks on the floor, and don't put things in the dirty clothes basket, and that can drive women or their partners completely up the wall. And some of it's just managing stuff. Like this person had OCD that left the kitchen in a mess. Their daughter acknowledged the same thing happened, and we rationalized that maybe if they allow themselves that bit of chaos in that one room, it enables them to manage having the rest of the house immaculate. That's speculation. But does the OCD carry over into the personality and the relationship? Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Because reason being, now it's not always Slavic, but if you have cultures where the women are extremely proud of their appearance, like manicures, beauty visits on regular basis, not a hair out of place, makeup's immaculate. It's like, if that's their culture, expect it to wash over to you. Okay. I don't particularly enjoy talking about men-women scenarios anymore, but if you've got the women, they will look at a guy's fingernails and go, maybe we should take you to get your nails done. Oh, your hair looks a bit scruffy there. Should we tie it back? Oh, you can't wear that shirt out. Trust me, real story. I had a Ukrainian teaching me Russian. He literally admitted he needed approval from his wife before leaving the house. Now, a Russian person I knew felt it was their role to dress their husband. Like, you can't leave the house with that. You're more likely to meet people who are just cool with it. They're just like, they might meet you, they might want to meet you because what's online is photos of you in a particular outfit, and they could go, oh, I like the way this person dresses. And that conversation doesn't have to be had. Okay. So we'll talk more about communication because this video is actually I've waffled on quite a bit and probably not even touched on some of the stuff in here. So I had some cases, but I don't really always want to make it about cases. But so there was a fearful avoidant cross dismissive avoidant. So a person told me a story that they went to a country, they had some quite how shall I say it, productive conversations where the woman revealed I had one alcoholic husband, the other one had a mental illness. I stood up for them. I made sure they got everything they wanted. However, I am now very wary of entering a relationship because I don't want to be in a caretaker role. And then this person said to this other person that they felt, and this is important, all right? So when this guy's needs weren't being met after a while, and this person had gone into deactivation, and the guy said, I'm not really happy that you just want to go drinking with your friends, and you don't even spend any time with me when you come home. Now, this is a direct quote. This person had said, I have never loved anyone. Now, the rebuttal to that was, what about your husband? You had a child with your husband, and then you had a second partner. Now, this should be the takeaway from this video for men, women interested in dating people of Slavic leaning, shall we say. The answer was this. The woman said, this is what women did in the Soviet Union. They got a husband and they had a child. Okay, this isn't scripted. So as you can see, this is a real big piece of information for men out there. If men are like after the beautiful Russian bride, be aware that in your 45 plus age bracket, the ones that grew up heavily influenced by the USSR, a lot. I'm talking, and this isn't my statistic. Another woman from Belarus said this, every second woman from the USSR. Okay. We can't verify this, but this is not my words. It's the words of a Slavic woman. So every second woman has been through the story of having married and then leaving the drunk, lazy Russian husband. Then they look for a Western man, and it never runs that well because the Western men are more likely to engage in their feelings. And then the Slavic women see that as a weakness. Oh, you're sensitive. How will you be when things are tough? Will you be my rock? And they will go, you will not. You would be a little baby, and I don't want another baby. So men watching this, please take it on board. This is all empirical evidence. This is all real life stories I'm telling. And this is stuff I could get friends to send copy pastes of conversations. So I can't speak what it would be like to have a Russian husband. I can't. But traditionally, they would open car doors for you, open any door for you, provide for you, buy you flowers. They might say that they love you if they would deem they wouldn't be seen as weak. But that's the roles that still go on. in some Slavic countries. Is the man is a provider, the woman can still be a caretaker, child bearer thing. Of course, it's all changing. And now, what was it I had on? There was the series I did, or I would have come up with it, where after a lot of research and a lot of support from women, this came up in the arguments with that one that sent me 80 messages, right? The dismissive avoidant. I had said to her this, she really didn't like the fact that I mentioned there's a lot of Slavic women carrying trauma. She got very defensive because probably she thought I was actually referencing her, but I wasn't. But they don't want to know. Some do. Some are quite empathetic towards, in the sisterhood. A lot of them are going, yeah, that stuff happened, Bradley. That stuff happened of leaving the drunk Russian husband. So and that's trauma that's carried on. It just manifests unwillingly in later relationships. There's videos you can find on the number of partners that Slavic women have. And I know there's a lot of misinformation out there, but go look it up yourself. But generally speaking, a lot of Slavic women don't actually sleep around. A lot of them are very dedicated to the husbands and dedicated to the guys they're talking to online. It's not always the case, but a lot of times, a lot of the old traditions are in place. With the older people I'm talking, the 45 plus group, of course, below that, completely different world. So I know from YouTube stats, my audience is the older generation. So it's applicable what I'm saying. This is the thing. I have had Slavic women go, we don't go to see psychologists, we are our own psychologists. And this is the downfall of entire generations of Slavic women. If they did go and see psychologists and learn about attachment style and actually picked what goes on, learn why they run, work on themselves of like, I really wanted to be with that guy. Why did I run? Think Runaway Bride. I will reference Runaway Bride until I take my last breath. I'm so thankful that film was made. I am so grateful that film was made. That if you try to explain to someone, I met someone and it was perfect. It was the honeymoon period. We were good together in the bedroom. We were helped each other in the house. We didn't fight. I got along with their family. They got along with my family. It was near perfect. And then it got too much and they ran. And then you will have women who don't understand it, who will throw random stuff, which is really their own projection, okay? You'll notice that the dismissive avoidance will label everyone as dismissive avoidant traits. They will go like a woman in love won't leave their man. Well, you know what? A fearful woman in love will leave their man. The runaway bride left her man. It's out there, people. You can't scrub that film from existence. It was a case study in the fearful avoidant, whether you know it or not. It was a woman wanting to be married and couldn't say yes because of whatever fear was driving her, whether it's loss of independence, a superstitious thing that it's not going to end well, so I'll end it first. That goes on a lot of trauma-informed opinions or trauma-driven opinions are irrational. You can tell your story. You can show cards from the person that they love you, that you might have cards that you're the best girlfriend I've ever had. You're the best boyfriend I've ever had. I never thought I'd find someone like you. And then they're gone. And then you tell people this, go, well, that doesn't make sense, does it? You just showed me a card where they said you were like the best girlfriend in the world and this guy's gone. Why? Because they're probably running on, I can't lose who I am. So Fred or David could be like, I won't be Fred anymore. I'll be Mary's husband. You know, there's loss of identity. And that's one of the biggest things I'm seeing in relationship breakups is the unwillingness to sacrifice identity. And you shouldn't have to sacrifice it. The joining should make you both stronger. Like I used to have my own sort of made up thing that I would say it to people, there's you, there's your partner, you do things, you meet, you still should be able to do those things and then do more things. You should be benefiting from the relationship. You should not be losing anything. You might compromise on something. You mightn't go deep sea diving as much as you did or whatever. Or you might be happy to give it up. Maybe you're just doing that because you didn't have a partner. And you go, I'd rather take my partner out to dinner. It's more enjoyable than swimming with the sharks. I mean, people change, people progress. We don't stay the same. No one should be staying the same. You might have some core identity that might be the same when you were 15. You might be rebellious against authorities, but other things can change. So I think, I can't really spend much time on secure attachment. There's not much to talk about. You've got healthy people, 60% of the population who are healthy. They're good at communication. They sit down across the table and work things out. They go, I don't like it when you leave dirty dishes in the sink. The secure, highly effective communicative partner will go, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. From now on, I will clean the dishes or put them in the dishwasher. Okay, done. Your secures are done. That's the extent of conflict. They might fall out of love and that, but they'll sit down, but they won't protest. There's protest behavior. So your anxious attachment will be, I've gone through this before, like send a text, how are you today? Don't get anything back. Anxiety drives them. They go, oh my God, don't they love me anymore? They're in a car crash, all of this stuff. And then, but if they get the text, then the whole body goes, so-and-so said hi to me. My day is better all of a sudden. That's the anxiety running in them because they had a parent they didn't get love from. So they're looking for it now. They haven't done the work, okay? I haven't done nearly enough work. But I'm at least aware of what's going on. And that awareness can change everything in you. You can sort of go, whoa, I need to back off a bit. I'm like, I sent 10 messages today and got 4 replies. You might go, I'll push the person away. And some women are like, oh my God, I can't handle this attention. And that can be personality. It can be that some women just don't like compliments. They don't even want to be told they're the most beautiful woman in the world. Others take it in their stride. Others take it as a sincere, genuine compliment that actually makes them feel nice. So, yeah, your fearful avoidant is the horrible push-pull. They will reach for you. They might win you. You start giving back and then they get uncomfortable. They like to have it, they like to be in control, not in a bad way, not in a manipulative, narcissistic way, but they are driven by trauma. They're driven by fear. That's why it's fearful avoidance. There's also a fear of loss of the person. There's a fear of rejection. So they're in a delicate balance of, I want the partner, I don't want him to run, But if he reaches and engulfs, then they go, oh my God, I don't even know who I am anymore. That was way too much for me. And then your dismissives just don't care. You'll see it. You'll see that thing like in the conversation, in your first contact conversation, take heed, really look at who's saying what and how often the wait in time is before the messages, there could be other stuff going on. They could be talking to 10 other people. Their mother could be in hospital with cancer and their attention goes to that. And they might be just trying to have someone to chat to, and then they could accidentally find the person of their dreams. All of this stuff is in play. You just can't go bang to that. I might be doing it sometimes in this, but bang to that when it's clearly that. But there's your attachment style, your own personality, your culture, your mental health, your trauma, all influences on how we are as people and how we act and react in relationships. There's learnt behavior. Generations were brought up on Disney and the princess, some were brought up on Princess Bride. Some are just told, go to school, do well, get a nice job, meet someone, get engaged, have babies, have the white picket fence, go heavily into mortgage, and then live happily ever after. Unfortunately, the happily ever after is rare. It's a minority. A lot of it is there's a divorce, someone becomes an alcoholic, and there's a horrible breakup, Welcome to life on planet Earth, We all want connection. We're human beings, we're Homo sapiens, we're a species of Homo sapiens. The women, our existence is to procreate. The whole point of when you have a child, that child's entire point in life is to have another child and perpetuate species. It's just the way it is. It's the same as animals out there, and animals sometimes can be smarter than people, and they won't even breed when there's going to be a scarcity of something. They know what's going on, but we just men have the whole testosterone, sperm production going on. I've got to get it out, spread the seed. There's all that stuff going on where, yes, they might be driven by the genitals, and they actually are, and that's something that's talked about in the love language book. Gary Chapman bored me senseless for a lot of chapters. He got to physical touch and he just didn't pull back. He's actually a Christian, but he just said, bang, this is the way it is. Men have testicles that produce sperm and it wants to get out. And that's it. And that's why there's sayings like, men aren't thinking with their head, or jokes that they're thinking with their small head. That's the way it is, people. Males have that going on. The women have their maternal clock going on. So I need to have a kid, We are driven by hormones. We are driven by dopamine. We're driven by oxytocin. There is chemicals in us that override any logic. We all see it. We've all experienced it. So we're all on dating sites. You're all watching this channel, or one of you, however many is watching it. We all want a bit of knowledge, a bit more understanding, but we almost have to go back to the fact of the basic anatomy of what we are. I mean, there's great things now like sapiosexual, okay, where intelligence over beauty is the attraction. Some people might want to go out with someone who's a bit average looking but really smart, but they can have incredible conversations with them. But there could be a person who's 10 times more attractive, but they can't talk to them. We might have gone through that. We might have just gone out with someone because they're amazingly good looking, but there's not much in common. But now there's names for things. There's sapiosexual. There's demisexual, okay? I worked out I'm demisexual, where I need an emotional attachment. Remember there was a film somewhere where there was a couple, and then there was a fight, and one went back to the room. And this was way before politics now, but it was basically sort of, oh, well, I'm glad I didn't sleep with them. They were probably a voter of the opposite party to me. Stuff like that goes on. Some people are so politically driven or into one side of politics that they wouldn't sleep with someone that votes for the other side, because it could impact on them personally or their family. So hopefully as a takeaway from this, pick your dismissive, they're not interested, your secures will healthily engage, your fearful avoidance, you won't know until it's too late. I'm sorry to say, you won't know. They could be just reaching a lot and it's daily contact and it could look secure, but it could end very unwell for you. You could be needing to do a lot of recovery from it if they walk away, for the runaway bride scenario. The dismissives, you should see the flags, you should see it. It should happen a lot. They just don't want regular contact. You're somehow like an annoyance to them. Okay, so I'll work out what I call this and how I frame it. Any questions, as always, ask, if you feel safe enough to divulge something that resonated with you, that I knew this guy and we had the honeymoon period and he ghosted me. A lot of it's not deliberate stuff, right? If they're grown up not knowing what love is, but being surrounded by Disney movies, they might just go, maybe. They look at other people. Trust me, dismissive avoidance will openly tell you they don't understand what that lovey-dovey couple over there are doing. They look at them and go, that is like, they're looking at a different species. They're like looking at Martians. I don't even relate to that. I don't want to do that. I feel really uncomfortable. I didn't know why I need to write down I love you on a card somewhere. I didn't grow up knowing what the word love meant. My parents weren't around. They were high achievers, but they got me a Mercedes-Benz, but I can't even hug someone that could be my wife because that's their attachment style. And that's what the channel is actually all about. And hopefully some people might be learning some little bit, and that'll be enough for me.